you ready? Are you
It's been replayed.
Listo.
Well, welcome back to the Meta Sports League studios after a Minnesota State hockey tournament weekend. This is the special episode number 015 with Wags, JC, LTeagues, and Peanut. I'm Doc. Fellas, what a weekend of hockey. I know you got to get into it, Wags, but that was amazing. You're gonna take us somewhere else first.
Yeah, no, I'll start there. Where do we start? I mean, there's so many things to throw around and throw out. The Class A tournament started with what would be the usual purging process, where you have just shit games, and then we had a really good first game. Decent. And then we started like nosing around saying when was the last time there were no runners, a running time game in the first day of the Class A, and that goes back to 2018. Maybe that. Or,
you looked up that stat?
Of course. I had it in my news and notes section, but I had to delete because the second and the 2, 3, and 4 were all rough. Then the Class A was interesting. You had so many newbies. By the way, I want you to know that the teams that dyed their hair or screwed with their hair were 0-4.
Nice.
On day one. Do you want to know why that is?
I like that stuff.
Because you spend more time trying to get on the all-hair hockey team and not the all-tournament team.
Okay.
Ooh.
See, because you're so giddy just to get there so you can have your 2 minutes of fame with John King's great deal. I'd love for you to be able to pull that up a little bit later in the show just to go through it. It's really good. Maybe we better not. Can we put that link to his deal from Pull Tab Sports?
It's everywhere.
In our deal?
Of course.
No, but we need it to be everywhere because we're partners, he and I, so I want to take care of that.
Yeah.
It was really good. And then the semifinal day and night was amazing. We had a pro level game between Edina and Moorhead, and you had Stillwater just absolutely locking down on St. Thomas Academy in all capacities. And then what I would term a thrilling. Well, how about the fact that East Grand Forks was down and out in their semifinal round game, and they came back and finished the deal. That was absolutely incredible. And then
7-5.
Was that what the score was? Can't remember. There were so many games.
Semifinals.
They've all blended into one.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then they went in overtime against a team in St. Cloud Cathedral that I thought was going to win the state tournament in the Class A. And then you get into the final round game, which was
exciting.
Stillwater and Moorhead.
Yep. What a thrilling game.
Well, I said it was weird. I thought it was weird. Well, Stillwater never led, and we're only tied at 0-0. So they were chasing perpetually.
Yep.
And it was weird because when that first puck went in off the skate blade, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And then in the first 2 minutes and 24 seconds, it's 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Zanin calls a timeout. They finally were getting offensive zone time, getting chances. Boom! Back they go and score. It's 4-0.
Yep.
They made it 4-1. You're like, well, I know they're really leaky defensively. What I'm saying is it's not just his fault. Defensively, they were leaky.
Yeah.
They gave up the 8 against Hill Murray. They gave up 13 goals in the state tournament. Hardly championship defense there.
Right. No defense, and the goalie, who's got an incredible backstory, right?
Right.
Yeah, where did they
backstory.
require him from?
Acquire, yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry.
So he was with Andover.
Yep.
And he moved to
Oh
Stillwater.
no, you're talking about the Stillwater goalie. I was talking about the Moorhead
I see.
Oh, got it.
situation there. He's a Brimsec finalist, played great all season long. The team played great defensively as a group all season long, and things just sort of like fizzled. I don't spend a lot of time talking about transfers. I don't spend any time worrying about who's going where. I leave that to the others because I think it's really unhealthy because we're talking about high school kids.
It's true.
And the one thing that I want to get into, this is going to get a little serious.
Okay.
What the fuck has Edina ever done to anybody?
I know.
Other than win. Like, I don't understand. I've been going to these things for 30 years, Civic Center XL, covering it.
Yeah.
And Edina, cake it. I get it. Everybody hates Edina. But it's made a turn to where it's almost angry and vile.
Yeah.
How can you take two kids from Edina that were named to an all-tournament team and the fuckers boo them?
Yeah.
That's a Denny
Danny Green.
Jerry Burns comment.
Jerry Burns, yeah.
The fuckers boo him.
Yeah.
Like seriously, they achieve status to be on the all-tournament team, and they boo him.
It's bullshit.
They're screaming "fuck Edina" in the hotels.
I saw that video.
Yeah, it's viral.
Yeah,
and you know,
it was after Moorhead won.
Edina is the only school that I'm aware of where people tend to go on social media and uncover every little nuance to every player that they can find. So I don't understand, like, you know, do Edina people walk around with like a chip on their shoulder, like jerks? Like, do they bulldoze into these towns and people say
false class warfare kind of thing?
So so hit pause for a second. I'm gonna ask both of you, and then you, because all three of you live in that town.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But we're not born and raised there. Okay, so let's start first with the Ranger.
Sure.
And Doc.
What's the question?
Well, so like, what's weird about Grand Rapids is I feel like there's like this mutual respect, and I feel like they're a little less harsh toward the cake eater package. But there's still a little animosity there. But
it's
what's
like
your take?
I would say it's more city slickers in general. That's the attitude. It's like outstate versus in city.
So
there's still a little cake eaters, just because the rivalry back in the 70s was so strong.
It was special.
Yeah, it was special and strong, and
but not negative.
It's like taking
kind of a
really
fun
dark turn.
A fun rivalry.
It was weird.
But besides
that's how I felt about it, Doc.
I think it has everything to do with an eroding culture, and also like the way that people can communicate so quickly and thoroughly with social media. Like, it's a whiteout. You've got to communicate that. So everybody's seemingly all together, whether they're chanting good or bad, but it's like everyone's become sheep. And these kids don't know why they hate Edina.
Right.
They think that,
it's because their parents do.
I mean,
it's because their neighbors
if it's
do.
class warfare, why not hate Wyzetta?
Yeah.
No doubt. That's why I said it's a false.
They never get any of that. Tonka doesn't get any of that.
No,
they don't get any of it. Like, what did they do?
They have
per capita, they have more money.
100%.
Yeah.
But they don't win like those guys do.
It's like I said, it's a false class warfare, because there's plenty of other communities that have as much or quite a bit more socioeconomic status.
So David, like, so you were Hopkins grad.
Yep.
I mean, some kids that have Edina address but Hopkins zip code go to Hopkins.
Yep.
So
knew a bunch of them.
And there's always there's a, I don't want to say bitterness, but intensity to the rivalry between the two schools because they're very close. But I don't feel like it's like that.
It ever since I was in high school, it was never really about that. It was always about just knowing, in the back of your mind, Edina was always better. They have more people, more kids. Even back then, they had better coaches. They had better arenas. It was just a better all the way around for an athlete to do well. But I just don't think it was anything about the class of money and parents back then where it is now. I think we have a bad rap now. Yeah. And I think that people walk into Edina thinking that, we're privileged and we're too
hockey privilege for sure.
I think it's across the board, to tell you the truth. Because
like if you look at John King's video he did about Edina at the beginning of this season that he released.
Oh, yeah.
It was all about, NHL players moving in and coaching and bringing in their kids.
But the stigma that Edina has just in general is about being,
Well, think about
privilege, different levels.
Think about it this way: the acronym, which makes zero sense to me. Every day I need attention.
Yeah.
Well, like we don't want. Not yours. Like, what do you mean? Like I don't think anybody's like trying to seek attention there.
Yeah, but some of the chances.
That's so weird. Yeah. Like, but that's an easy one to throw out. Yeah.
But
every day I need ice time.
But one other thing, I do remember.
That's a good one.
I do remember that back in the day they would have chants, right? Like yelling things back and forth at the rink, and some of them that Edina had or have. Wow, it's not going to make you like them anymore. I'll just say that. But they do have to stick up for themselves. And
well, that's usually what it is. It's a defensive thing because you're dealing with it. Here's the one thing you can't do. You cannot be sitting in an executive suite with 20 or 30 chumpy high school guys and chirping chants from there
Right.
and saying, literally, they said daddy's money. From where? A suite. Okay, boys. Sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, and, the chanting stuff is all great and fine. And like, I'm there to watch the hockey, but it just feels like it's gotten so dark and so personal. And so mean.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't-
These guys are kids. Like
I don't
the
mind-
stuff they were doing to Jackson Nevers was fucking ridiculous last year.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Holy shit!
I don't mind a
stop.
good.
And something that he'll remember for his entire
Well,
life.
I mean, these are.
But these are things that kids
bad.
don't need to
It's
go
so
through, right?
stupid.
This
Yeah.
is something that they don't need to
It's
go
gotta
through.
stop.
And that's why I
But they don't do that to any other kid on any other team, not to that level.
No.
There was a little bit of chirping toward Cal Conway. Okay, fine. But it wasn't hard. It was once, but it wasn't like constant with even harsher.
Yeah.
Harsher. And you're just going,
yeah.
It's gotten out of hand. I mean, like the thing you said, like across the board, like I noticed it in baseball, football, like across any and all sports. It's not just hockey. Obviously, you guys are more ingrained into the hockey culture than most people, but it's just it's come to a point where
It's just culture in general.
it's almost like the way that I dislike Alabama. Like they have an excellence for winning with football, and it gets to a point where it's like, gosh, like is anybody else going to be able to like be at the top and compete? But at the end of the day, I think it's the fact that.
But I mean, some of the stuff, like, we don't know where these kids are at, like mentally or
yeah.
psychologically, or how
Yeah.
they've developed, and some of that stuff can probably impact you for a long time. But I'll tell you one thing, and I mean this with all sincerity.
Yep.
There was only one player on that ice on 16 teams, in my opinion, that was a sure-cut NHL player.
Yes, sir.
And it's the one that took the most shit from
West.
everybody.
Yeah, and he's the face of
Ridiculous.
Edina Sports, Mason West, and there couldn't be a more humble kid.
I mean, he's like
phenomenal.
There's nothing cocky about him.
The shit he took during the games was not
was unprecedented.
not as unprecedented as Jackson Nevers last year.
Okay.
This was just almost as bad enough,
Wow.
But then to have him without your helmet on, in your street clothes, walking up the red carpet to receive your all tournament award, and you're kind of not
in a good
stoked to be there
headspace.
because you
That
didn't win
embarrasses
anyway.
me for our state.
And then everybody boos, including the winners. It was loudest to my right, which was
Not right.
Moorhead. I don't care.
Wags, I
They
can't
were
believe he
loud.
didn't say something.
Screw those
Well,
spuds.
so I was driving home, and this is interesting because I had friends from a company that I'm doing work with from London and Slovakia. And the guy from London had never seen hockey. And I had brainwashed him into being an Edina fan. I'm like, do you like winners? He said, yeah. I go, okay, you're an Edina fan. So I got him 3 jerseys from Gemini.
Oh, cool.
And green ones, of course. And then I got him tickets, and he sits down and he goes, "This place is packed. I can't believe it." He goes, and then the Edina Hornets come out. He goes, "I stand up and clap." Like the people on the Edina side were.
Yeah.
Because I was the only guy in the rest of the building. He goes, why do they hate them so much? And so we kind of got into talking about it. And then these guys from out of town are going, this is a pro environment and this is a great game. Okay? This is good.
Yep.
But why are they so harsh on those guys?
Well, maybe because I'll say another thing. They've won 15 championships because
Yeah.
they're that
I mean,
good and they
it's
deserve
good.
it. But the kids don't understand, and then the parents.
Well, the
don't
parents don't understand.
Perpetuate it.
Yeah,
They
that
perpetuate.
They don't understand what it's actually doing to the kids, right?
So what is
Like the health.
what is West's father? How does he explain that to him? As if he's not old enough to understand it himself.
Yeah, how do you
It's
explain that?
clearly you just
Jealousy is a
they're
really
jealous
just
of you, and it's-
ugly emotion.
I think it's just that though. Like people are good and excellent. The player that you were saying, what was his first name that got a lot of the hate? The match this
Nevers or
year?
West.
Last year?
No, this year.
Mason West.
Mason West.
And I mean, what he's just good in. People just.
Well,
hate
this
him.
guy's
he's the quarterback for the football team.
He's a
Okay.
Division I college
All-star.
quarterback who's
And arguably one of the
I mean,
best
it
in the
depends
state.
upon which report you look at: 6'5", 6'6", 6'7".
Okay.
I have never covered a quarterback that drops back more efficiently and reads the. You've seen it.
Yeah.
The field. I mean, he's like a pro. Like
Yeah.
you feel like you're watching a pro.
And we would say he's just.
there's nobody like him.
He's better or just as good on the ice too.
Oh,
That's the predicament he's in.
Here's the most interesting.
He could go.
And he's
He could go.
He's a junior.
way.
Here is the most interesting thing about him is that I don't know how much ice time he's getting after a certain time of the summer. So he's probably on the football field, let's say August 15. This is at a minimum until middle November because they go pretty deep into the playoffs. They're in the prep bowl his sophomore year, not last year.
Okay.
And so he's not on the ice. And then he also grows maybe 2 inches. And when you're as tall and big as a guy like that, you got to relearn your body and get your hands and your feet tall.
I think his dad's still taller than him.
Yeah, that's what scares me because I don't want him to grow out of hockey or football for that matter. Anyway, so, I do think it takes him a little bit of time to get caught up to where the other players and skaters are. And then when you start seeing him in mid-January, February, and certainly in the state tournament, the pattern's been 2-3 years in a row for him. Played as a freshman. Now he has
trick in the first.
He
period.
should be a senior because he's NHL draft eligible.
Yeah,
really,
dude. That power turn and upper deck.
He's ranked
power turn upper decker.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Did you see a guy with that big of feet, Doc? That big a body in those feet. I mean, it's.
So you're saying with what skates? He's like 6'9".
He's right now. They're saying he's 6'6", 215 pounds. He's ranked 50th among the North American.
That was midterms. He's going up.
So
what I saw.
Ranked 50. Wow.
50th. That's right. That's right now.
Second round.
Well,
but he'll be late second, early third if you put the Euros in there
for sure.
Early second, but he's number one of all the Minnesota. No, he doesn't want any questions about what are you playing. He just loves to play.
You go hockey.
Leave the kid alone, man. Like, what?
Apparently,
he doesn't
hockey,
have to choose.
Hockey is what he loves, but football is better business. When you're quarterback.
Here's the thing.
Sorry, Wags.
Here's the thing. I mean, there's just so many millions you can spend. Be happy doing what you want to do, and longevity of the sport. Is a tough thing too, and football's not that hockey's any easier because it's probably harder.
I was going to say they're both,
I think
but they're very. It is, and they're very demanding. But I will say this: let the kid play, let him have fun, let him decide, and
and on top of that, like
they'll put pressure.
There is, I don't want to go too hard on this.
Right,
I mean, like
it wasn't
be bigger
his fault
than that.
either.
No. Yeah. We'll give you full details.
At the end of the day, jealousy
that's the worst part about it.
is a terrible, terrible emotion that people carry. And kids are cruel, and kids are not thinking how it can really affect someone else's mental health.
Do you think at some level this can get better?
I feel like
it's getting worse because of the frickin' phones and all the cyber bullying.
The real-time data.
It's absolutely getting worse.
If you were hopefully my kid who has a good conscience and just dressed in white to do the whiteout, and all of a sudden we're caught up in this chant that you felt so crappy about the fact that you were even part of it. You think, you just want to walk away.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, you would walk away. You'd go, I can't be with these
What is great though is
someone had to feel bad about that, and it came out universally in that group.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably spending way too much time on this. But I will say this, like, for me personally, that kind of overshadowed it. Like, it's kind of weird how everybody seems to make that okay. I do think that's things with the biggest issue is most of this stuff gets started by the non-schools kids that are there. Mm-hmm. And to me, if those are players of teams that sit in those sections that get their allotments, they got to cut that. And because it's getting bad.
Yeah. And the stuff you see that's also going viral is, why does Edina have security in their section? Well, Stein puts all those guys there.
You wonder why?
They don't want to hate back. They want to allow them to chant.
The first thing that my guys from London and Slovakia said were, wow, look at all the yellow coats. Why are they there? I go, well, let's look at the other teams. Do they have them? They're like, no. I said, yeah, because they take pride in how they are, but you hate pride.
Right.
I mean, it's just that's how backwards our society is. I mean, this is becoming like a societal discussion, but like honestly, like I'm driving home from what I thought was, I wasn't sure if it was a good game or a weird game. I thought it was weird. And I'm like going, what a great season. We love calling this stuff. It's been awesome. You don't experience it like that during the regular season. You bring in all these elements to the state tournament, and it becomes just who can be funnier than the next guy.
Yeah.
And the biggest wise ass.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem.
It was a crazy tournament. The only weird part about it, honestly, was that Edina wasn't in the finals.
I know, it was too bad. It was too bad. I really wanted Edina Stillwater because I thought
did too.
I thought that matchup would have been absolutely amazing. you would have had a total of 5 NHL coaches wrapped in that game. Instead,
That's
you had
pretty cool.
Instead, you had 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, great.
No, you would have had 6.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and the final thing.
Yep.
One other thing that does not help is there was an ad that was running between periods, and they're talking about there's this, they're doing all these teams, and then they said and the cake eaters.
What?
Oh, yeah, as they showed the Edina, and so
Stigma.
I'm sitting up there and I go like this. I go, okay,
Right.
now. Fucking 30 years ago, that was like not cool to say.
Yeah.
And we handled it. Cake, the breakfast, the champions.
Embraced it.
Sure.
Get it all. But it was like not cool to say.
Right.
And now they're putting big commercials on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Well, let's continue that narrative and make it worse. I'm not blaming anybody, but I thought that was
putting gas on the fire. Putting gas on the fire.
Okay.
It is stupid. It is stupid. And what's even crazier is where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
Well,
all right.
Can we just say how good
boring
a
is this podcast? We're
it's
just, like,
boring because
so
we're not
mellow
talking about the
talking.
great hockey that we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem
Gotta
is
focus on the good here.
So on the good hockey
lot
that
of
we
good.
saw, I think what we saw in Mason Kraft was a player that moves very well. He has incredible hands. He can open up and get a space in a shooting lane. But if you think about all of the goals that Moorhead scored, they were going to the net with
time.
ferocious.
Yeah.
They're going straight to the net, and they were getting rebound goals. And
Every play was so fluid.
yeah, and if you watched.
Stop.
If you watch the way they were coming through the slot area, their angles were different and they're coming from different space. And sometimes the D man, that number 4, would drop down, and that's how he scored that goal.
Yep.
You miss a guy, they were losing guys, and then you get running, and then they score that way. And so there's no team better than that, and absolutely Moorhead could score. I just thought the defensive thing was just atrocious. Like, I'm like, how are you winning games with this poor of a defensive effort?
Great things happen
just
when the
gotta
puck.
outshoot.
Great things happen when the
Unbelievable.
puck's in front of the net. Right.
With them?
I
Yeah,
said,
absolutely.
You just never know what's going to go in. The rebounds and off the skate blades. It's just all part of hockey that you got to love.
There was a moment-
Kraft, I think Kraft is just a unique individial to find the right space, the right time, at the right time.
How tall is he?
He's
5'11", maybe?
he's an excellent player, but he's as smart of a hockey player as he is
The
an
IQ
excellent,
and whether you teach that or not, the whole
as
question.
an excellent,
the
talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And there's a moment with Stillwater that was just awesome. They all got around Greg Zanin. I love him. And they're in a tight circle. Did you see that on TV?
Yeah.
After the game.
And I was saying to the guys next to me on press row, I was saying, quote, I've never been more fucking proud of a group of guys than you.
No doubt.
You were down 4-0, 5-1, 7-3, or whatever it was, and you never stopped.
Yeah.
You went until the final buzzer, and you damn near forced overtime.
Yeah.
I don't think, I'll talk to him this week, I don't think a guy will ever say he was disappointed in his team's heart, even though they didn't win. I mean, that's, to me, that was a huge victory
Totally.
for Pony Hockey. I love Pony Hockey. I love the community. They're great people. And it was just awesome. For Moorhead, I mean, my God, they got it done. Ninth time, good for them. You could see the relief.
Yeah.
They've got Matt Cullen on the bench, whose dad was their coach, and he was just Mr. Everything, and they just would fall up short. And they should have won so many years. So to be able to see those kids do that,
and to kind of break that
Mission
but they
accomplished.
believed they could do it.
Yep.
And the coaching staff had them so in tune to what they needed to do to win. It was awesome.
was.
So to see them break that ice was, I thought, really cool.
Yep.
Great for hockey, great for the community. And it's only going to help their youth program coming up. For the East Grand Forks Green Wave, they were like 500.
Wow.
Yeah.
They had a really interestingly weird, it's my word of the day,
journey or path.
regular season. It's like,
You and Walsey.
well, this is a group.
But you can still see the
This is a
talent.
group.
There is talent there.
This is a group, totally.
Yeah.
This is a group that won their Bantam A state title
Right.
2 years in a row.
Yep.
And on the second one, the Bantams and the Pee-wees won. I think the Pee-wees are now freshmen or
Okay, so
sophomores.
they're gonna.
So they've got this bundle of players. And it was
Great.
kind of like, where did you guys go.
Yeah.
And in the championship presser, Tyler Palmasino, former great Green Wave himself, North Dakota Fighting Sioux. I'm sorry, North Dakota hockey player.
No,
I know, I'm being funny. He basically, he said, we had celebrated the 14-15 back-to-back state titles this year, and all those guys were around, and they're starting to absorb like how much a decade later they loved their time together doing it and winning. And then the kids started understanding, oh God, we can do this. And beating War Road in the Section 8 was really important.
It's huge.
And it was great to see them do that. And then they basically got rid of one. But they had to beat a couple of good teams to get there.
Yeah. Wasn't given to them.
Yeah, Hibbing was the 1 seed.
Yep, no joke.
And they had to beat Hermantown, and they had to beat Cloquet-Carleton, Carleton, who was the 1 seed. But then on top of that, they had St. Cloud Cathedral, who I thought was going to win it to start the year. They were my preseason pick. But all along, I always felt as though you kind of can't sleep on Paul Messino and those guys.
Yeah.
You know what was great about him in the presser? What was he working? He was working the halls, the cough drop. He'd get like 4 words out and have to cough. He goes, sorry, I can't get over this cough. And I'm like,
Been there,
don't
done
worry,
that.
brother, me either. So anyway, it was a great tournament. And, Doc,
It's awesome.
we probably spent way too much time on the sociology of it. But
That's okay.
I do think it's...
There is something there that
Good
needs to
little
be.
half hour.
It needs to be said.
I mean,
Well,
it's
hopefully
okay.
things change, right? Because you really want things to get better for the community, not just for the hockey community, but in all sporting communities.
I'd be saying that
it needs to start
if there-
somewhere.
if you're in...
to start in your home.
I know
Manage
we...
your own kid.
I know we covet and love freedom of speech.
Yep.
It doesn't make you to have freedom of being an asshole
Yes.
or
it
asshole.
kind of does, though.
Well put.
That's
I
what,
know.
that's what people think, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't give you the right to be an
totally
asshole.
get it.
And the
There's a
desire,
lot of assholes.
to go viral and all these, new things that are like corrupting everybody. I mean,
or what they think is important.
Yeah, I think it's embarrassing.
Trade deadline happened in the National Hockey League, and it was too busy to count. What was really interesting is there were a lot of teams that decided to go into sell mode, and a lot of teams that were in buy mode. The Dallas Stars were in buy mode. They got Ratinen from Carolina. So he's on his 3rd team this year.
Wow.
And I think Colorado is just like, are you kidding? Because those 2 teams are trending to be 2-3 seeds. The Wild will be a wild card team.
Yep.
And they're going to have one of them are going to be out because Colorado made significant moves too.
Yeah, they did.
Because they got Natchez and other really good players. But what's fascinating to me is that, well, hell, they would have just traded him to Dallas if they were, it's like, that's awful. I'd be so mad. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Not happy.
Valid point.
Your rival gets up. The Boston Bruins carved out their 3 captains. They're gone. Marchand is hurt.
Tell us more on that.
They could only fetch a 2nd rounder for him because he's hurt. And
Where's he? How bad?
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's something with his back. I'm not sure. But he could be out for a while. So it's a 2nd round pick is all they got. But he's free to fly as a free agent. He'd been there. He was on the 2011 Cup team. So that was the
Why
last.
did I hear he went to Florida?
What's that? Panthers.
Panthers.
Yep. They sent him a 2nd round pick.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. Then Charlie Coyle went to the former Wild, went to Colorado.
Oh.
But Casey Middlestat went over there.
Okay.
So basically, that was Don Sweeney and Cam Neely saying, okay, we're going young here. They do not have any prospects. That's kind of what's been biting Pittsburgh, too. These teams, so when you're winning now and you're top heavy with talent, it's tough to fill up the bottom, the hopper.
Very tough.
If you're the Wild, that's been very impressive because they've been able to be a middle feeder.
And they've really been able to stay pretty steady.
They've got the best
They're good.
group of prospects in the game.
Yep.
Or close to it. And that's been awesome. Gustav Nyquist, to me, has been an awesome addition to this team. I loved him when he was here. He didn't play much when he came that 1st round because he was hurt. But when he did come into the playoffs, I'm like, God, they got to find a way to keep that guy. But they kept Johansson instead.
Oh, yeah.
And now they got them both again. But that guy is just an all-around player. You don't measure how good he is and the things he does. Yep. So, Doc, do you have that quote from Billy Guerin? Did I send that to you?
I don't think you sent it to me.
I want to give you guys...
Do a little bit of digging.
I got it. I was going to have you put it up, but this is a beautiful quote that he made because like he gets asked these questions from the local media,
From Billy
which are
G.
just ridiculous. Yeah, it's like they want to play general manager to a degree, but they don't understand.
He loves to chuckle through his pressers too, doesn't he?
He's great.
He's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
He's got a good
I mean,
sense of humor.
it's like
So they asked
he's always
they
building
asked about him
camaraderie.
making a move of some sort, and he says this quote. This is great. Did you see the prices on guys? I'm not here, and I'm not being a wise ass. I'm not here to make your trade deadline better, he's saying to the reporters who are playing fantasy hockey. I'm running a business. I'm running a team. We have assets. Our time will come. This is not so you guys can write great stuff on a trade deadline day and have an exciting day. We've had a plan going for 4 years, and I'm just not going to screw that up just being short-sighted. That's where I am. Basically, he said, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a very professional way to say it.
But he's right.
No, because they're coming after him saying,
Yeah.
why no movement?
Because he can't.
Yeah, he goes, because that's not my plan.
The prices for these guys.
They're looking for a game of
cookie
checkers, and he's playing chess, long term.
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, he is.
I mean, like you said, sometimes it takes a couple of years where you're trying to, develop, like you said, the farm system, talent. You're trying to see if you can make any moves, and kind of wanted to get your thoughts. And maybe I missed in the conversation. What did you think of the Wild trade as a whole?
Yeah, that was where I was going on Gustav, and then the Boston one. Like I will just rely on this. He was a career minor leaguer. He's 6'6". He brings great size and length. He has played 50 games this year, so they like him and they're using him. But he's a bottom six forward who's going to check and create some problems. I don't know enough to speak on it, other than I'm going to trust that he needed to get bigger and stronger and a little more firm on the end wall, if you will, or on the board battles. And I think that's a good thing. That guy's going to free up some space. But he was $10,000 less than what they traded. Basically, yeah. I mean, like the trade was, the Wild ended up saving $10,000 on the cap, which, as funny as this sounds, they need.
Sure.
But Laco, I was sad to see him leave and go back to Boston, because I really loved his energy as a human being and his motor and the way he approached the game. And I thought he was really good he's just a great team guy. But he did have injury issues that were a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, okay, we got to give up to get that. So I think it was great. But if you look at it, you go Urasek, you go, what's his name? The guy that just brought in, I don't remember it. And then Nyquist.
Yeah.
Those are some very strong moves.
Yeah.
Good talent.
Future moves.
Good talent.
Well, Nyquist is old. Yeah. Nyquist is a now move. I said future, but I'm thinking of Urasek on the blue line.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we've got Zeev coming from Denver.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one.
And you'll have a 1-2 punch between him and Faber, who will really, when Spurgeon and Brodin, who's hurt a lot,
and maybe we get Carew back at
age
some
out.
point.
Well, that would be so. If you get Carell and Ewell, Eriksson, and Brodin back, those are the greatest trade deadline maneuvers you could ever make. I'll also add this. I would say trade deadline moves are 50-50 in helping teams. Think about baseball and basketball. How many of those trade deadlines do you see that really do win championships? Percentage.
Yeah, I would agree.
25, 20?
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not like I think you run the risk of
It's the dynamics.
breaking
of
up
people
your
together.
dynamic.
Yeah. You have to have the right jam.
Well, the
I think
NBA
that's
is-
scary.
The vibe has to be
NBA is
there.
the easiest to impact what's happening because you get the fewest players.
Right.
What do you think? What do you think of the rotation?
When it comes to
Wolves. It's all over, he's doing something he doesn't like to do, which is change that up.
Yeah,
He likes to go with the consistency.
I mean, there was a stat that I just saw last night when Randall, what is it? I think the Wolves are undefeated the last 7 games or 6 games that Randall's been back in the starting lineup. I'll have to double check on that stat.
He almost had a triple-double in Miami.
So there's been some sort of a little bit of a resurgence from him, which, again, looking back at the start of the season, I think most fans saw what Cat was doing out on the East Coast, and they were kind of down in the dumps about, what did we move and do?
is looking pretty good.
I mean, he's looking pretty good. We got DiVincenzo back too now. So, I mean, those
Well,
were
and he's
really
getting
the biggest
starting
pieces.
minutes.
Yep. But let's just take a moment and reflect and realize you brought up you brought up the point of the Wild's, minor league, their farm system. Can we just talk about the young talent that the Wolves have been able to really shine and blossom into?
No one's really talking about that.
We could talk about Dillingham. We could talk about Shannon Jr., our 2 draft picks. You could also talk about Jalen Clark,
who's a sophomore,
who played himself into a contract. They had officially signed him and got him on the roster.
Well, there's 3 guys. What about Luka Garza?
Yeah, Garza too, who could be in Iowa and could be tearing it up. I mean, those are 4 high quality.
4. We could probably find a 5th. You've got a whole roster worth the future there.
Yeah.
Well, 5th could be Ant. What's going on with him?
Who knows at this point? He's a character.
Yeah,
I said honestly because he's sitting some important minutes.
Yeah.
Why? You're the basketball guy. Do tell.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like you said, I think Finch is always willing to. He's always willing to switch it up, and I think the proof, the evidence of some of these young guys getting some quality minutes and play time just goes to his ability and
you don't think it has anything to do with the technicals?
I mean, I think that is definitely part of it. I mean, because we were just talking about this within the last couple of weeks when we were hanging out at the local hilltop. I mean, some of that's problems. There might still be some.
Oh, that was the time me and Doc were talking music and blew you 3 off.
But I mean, it's just that. I mean, like maybe there's honestly some. Not necessarily that he's a bad character or a bad apple, but maybe there's still a little bit of fine tuning in terms of maturity or just that
humility,
that mental IQ that he needs to still kind of bolster and sharpen up a little bit to be at that next little level.
Well, I think he got too much of people telling him how great he was for a while.
They went pretty hard during the playoffs. Yeah. Like it was out there. And I think what can also happen too is that we can look at these guys and they're young. And you want them to be the perfect human being and the perfect athlete and the perfect player and the perfect everything. Yep. But the reason they're so good is they're driven in a different way.
Yep.
And sometimes they have motors they can turn on and sometimes they can't turn them off.
Yeah.
And he seems to me to be like the guy that's like that, where he gets his way.
Yeah.
And he doesn't realize that you don't win any battles with the officials and they get sick of you. And I think you learn that through humility and being forced to pay a price. That's what causes humility. You just shut the fuck up. But who was his teacher with that?
Yeah.
Who was his teacher?
Yeah.
Who?
Coach, parents.
No, I got one. Who?
Who are you thinking?
I know who it is.
I mean, Cat played a big role.
He ain't here. He's in New York. And he's the biggest crybaby bitch in the league. Whiner.
He went there. He went there.
No, it's the truth. Am I wrong?
No. And that was one of the biggest things that
I couldn't watch a game because of it. I got so sick of it.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things I really had an issue with was the complaining. And so I feel like it goes both ways.
Every time down the court.
Every game.
Both ends of the court.
It's a 2-factor component for me when you have that level of excellence and ability to be a top player in the league and there's that mutual respect with the refs. I think just about everyone will talk to the refs at some point. Maybe when you're still early on in your career, you stay pretty quiet, you really don't say much, but there might be like a general question like, hey, what'd you see on that? Like what went wrong? And I think when you can build that type of chemistry and that respect on both ends, I think that's when you're actually able to maybe
I even think you can get upset, pissed, throw your arms up, and go, when you lose.
But even then, sometimes you got to be careful where you're.
Like, come on, but you can stop.
Yeah,
it's when you don't stop,
and
there's no governor for it.
Yeah,
it just doesn't stop.
Or it's phony all the time. You're acting. I think that's the BS part.
Well, if you do it so much, people can't tell the difference.
But he had a teacher. That is, in my opinion, in my years of watching it, can you find anybody? Can you give me 2 or 3, 4, 5 guys that are on that playing field? Luka?
In terms of
crying to the refs?
Yeah.
Bitching?
I mean, people have always said LeBron is one of those people too, which I always think is interesting, but that's been
I don't know.
I mean, for whatever reason, people, again, I think
but he's more pro about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's less demonstrative.
He can get a guy fired too.
But he's got the platform.
Off the top of my head,
get a season canceled if you want.
Yes.
Off the top of my head, I honestly can't.
Well,
like, there's
I
none
can't
either. That come to mind that. Proving
it's
the
weird.
point.
That's it. Okay. So, but I think it's cool that Finchie is going with whatever's needed to beat the team in front of them lineup wise.
Yep.
And I think what he's really trying to do is get guys consistent in roles. And then you know what? The young guys needed to teach him the trust, and he clearly trusts them now.
It's one of the hardest things to do. I feel like as an NBA coach is how do you still stay relevant in the league and in the standings where you're still getting a valuable spot especially when it comes down.
Got to get to 6
when it comes down to this tail end. And how do you still get some of those young players into the rotation, like you said, where it's like, okay, it looks great on paper. You got all these great draft picks, or you have people that can produce down in the G League, but what can they actually do here when it comes to real court time, that minutes that actually matter? And I think we're actually able to tap into a little bit that now, where they can win some meaningful games. They're able to again have that on court time with our starting lineup, and it's a confidence boost too, 100%. When you can have some of these games where they're shooting lights out and getting career high in points, and I mean it all stacks up. So I mean it's a hard balance again, because you still want to get your top lineup minutes. I think just like hockey, like any other sport.
Well, who's going to go further in the playoffs?
But
the Wild or the Timberwolves?
Yeah.
Wolves.
I think the Wolves.
Yeah,
I think the Wolves have a shot.
I think the Wolves. The thing that I've been intrigued with is that I do. He gave his top rotation an opportunity to win some ball games.
Yep.
And they were kind of floundering 500-ish. And then he started mixing some guys in. I think this is just me looking at it, that they started gaining his trust in game situations.
Yep.
And then he started increasing their roles a little bit. And then now he's finding the rhythm. But I think in his mind, if I'm him, I don't care if I'm first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. Just get me into 6. Get me out of that play-in stuff. Take that variable out of there. Get me a series. And I believe my team and my staff, I can match up against anybody. And I think really Oklahoma City is the 1A, and there is no 1B. And it's all the rest. Am I wrong?
No, I would agree. They're definitely at the top. I think it's going to be interesting to see.
Lakers are scary-ish now, but
Lakers, Celtics, Cleveland
in the West.
Oh, sure, okay. But yeah, just across the board, those are probably the teams that come to top of mind in terms of.
But in the West, that's why I think we all agree that they have an opportunity to go deeper again.
And we'll see what happens.
Doesn't mean they will, but
yeah. And we'll see what happens with Denver. I mean, they're one of those teams where they've been able to win a couple of games, and they're right there in the mix. But I think that's one of the more, I don't know if you dare say, unconvincing standings in terms of where they are relative to the rest of the league, and even just in the Western Conference. They've had those woes, they've had those ups and downs that seem kind of a little bit more maybe ferocious than some of the other teams in the league are currently going through.
I do think that West Coast swing that they had when they played in Phoenix, that was a great game. That was really fun to watch, and I think they've got to beat the bad teams, and they're losing to way too many of the bad teams.
Yep.
Can you imagine where they'd be if they were beating those teams?
It would be.
They'd be in second, third.
Yeah, second, third. Yep.
I mean, it's unbelievable. The Minnesota Twins are 6-5 right now.
Yeah,
it's preseason, but I've been watching them. I've been watching it closely. I saw the
Twinkies.
I can't say I've watched any. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, what I've been the guy I'm most worried. I don't know if worried's the right word, but watching in terms of rehab and being his old self is Joe Ryan.
Oh, okay.
And he had his first start. It was a little later than usual, but he's good. They're just going slow with him, but it was a very smooth outing.
Really, two innings, or
two full. And
okay.
I think with him, if he's fine, they're good.
If he's fine, I would agree.
I think that gives them. They'll have 4 starters. Well, Paddock, if the sheriff can make it work, I still think he should go. I still think he should go to the bullpen.
I agree.
I think he wanted to during the playoffs 2 years ago. I think he felt that would elongate his career too. You heard him say it.
Yeah,
he wanted that role.
So you think the Twins are going to try and push him into the starting rotation?
They are right now. They've got him in his 4.
Okay.
So it's.
So who would you like to see in the 4 if you're going to move him up to the bullpen?
Based off what I watched last year, I think it's Simeon Woods Richardson's to lose.
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
I think he earned the regular season nod, but they're making him compete. And Zebby Matthews, very good. He'd probably be, I think, the second.
Okay.
He'd be number 6.
Okay.
first one up. I mean, think about Zebby Matthews. He started in Class A.
Yeah.
And he it's very rare. You know who the last
Just
guy to do that?
grinded it out.
You know the last guy to go from Class A to major leagues in 1 year was that I can think of?
Tom Bergemeyer,
No.
Goltz,
Think Bloomington.
oh Herbie.
Yeah. Remember?
Yeah.
Visalia Twins. He's launching
Oh,
bombs.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. What have you seen anything else, prospect wise in spring?
What
training
I'm liking is that they're hitting it. They're putting up a lot of runs. This lineup, again, if healthy, is as good as anybody's offensively. They're good. Like they got sticks all over that lineup. I'm very intrigued to see what the new hitting
coach
looks like, how that works out. So far, so good from what I've seen. I think it's a much more simplistic approach.
I think people, just real quick about baseball, Pete Rose, right? He's a heck of a hitter, and his stance was a little, aggressive.
Loved it.
Yeah, right. I think
Did you? I hated
more people should have
I loved it
that
'cause it was ugly.
passion that
It was ugly.
the Pete Rose had.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Rose dive, the head dive.
You know what's so
just
funny
everything
is
about Pete Rose.
we don't have much of that. Okay, so Pete Rose grabbed you.
Yeah, big time.
Who grabbed you as a kid like that?
Rod Carew.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Rod Carew for
Yeah.
sure.
I like Petey.
So I was.
I cried when Rod Carew got traded.
That was a tough day.
Yeah.
I was so. Well, they're getting rid of everybody. Remember they cleaned house in 81,
I
82.
just thought, how could they do this to us?
I know I was the same way. So mine was Rod Carew as well. But then there was this guy I saw at a Twins game that absolutely captivated me. Just the swag, cockiness. He was explosive as a runner. This is 1979, I
That's
think.
not Kirby.
No, it was 1979. He was playing left field. I'm going to give you some clues here. He hit for power. He ran, and he was cocky as hell.
In 79?
Western Division.
79.
Western Division.
Oh,
What team?
yeah.
Oakland.
Oh, Foster. No, he was Reds. Vita Blue.
Ricky Henderson.
Ricky
Oh,
Henderson.
Henderson,
yes,
yeah.
of course.
I watched that guy just.
I think of him as a Yankee.
I can honestly say, never.
I do.
Oh God, yuck. I'm cool with the Yanks, but I'm just like he's just an Oakland guy to me. But
You call them the Yanks cake eaters.
but he was
Good comparison.
he was the one guy that I would go watch every time. For me,
Oh, those A's were so good.
God, they were good.
Yeah.
Remember the A's in the late '80s when they were taking on the Twins in the West, and they were duking it out for the one slot to get into the
The
playoffs.
Twins were so good. They're the outfielders with Danny Ford and Larry Heisel.
Disco.
Who was the other one?
Hoskenbauer.
Yeah, they were kind of
Number 10.
rotating on that one.
We've lost Peanut.
No, I was
totally.
I was in
And
some
Johnny Castino.
I was in some
He was good.
deep thought as you guys were talking
He had a bad
about
back.
captivating players and people that really drawed you in. I think two players for me, and I mean this was going back to some of my younger years, but two people.
Can I guess one?
Go for it.
I have a feeling Ichiro.
No, but
Oh,
I loved him, but yeah,
that would have been one of the guests that would have been right if I was thinking outside of the Twins, but Okay. internally Twins. There's something very unique about Carlos Gomez, like his charisma, his flair. Wasn't necessarily the best hitter, but man, when he was able to make contact, when he was flying around the field, I thought he was at least an average or at least slightly above average defender. But man, there was something about his energy way back when at the Dome. Man, I
so
remember.
Gomez was your guy.
He was one of those guys that I had an interest in terms of like captivating, like drew you in, like what's different. And then I would say a little bit different, or maybe kind of an oddball response, but I would say Denard Span too. At the time that he's
Denard Span, yeah.
I liked what he brought to the Twins.
Do you know what was really weird about
Great-
that
great
era?
guy,
You know
too.
what was
Great
really
guy.
weird about that era? You had Spansy.
Yep.
You had Ben Revere.
Oh my gosh, Ben Revere.
Remember?
Yes, I do remember him.
And is there a third one? I'm thinking we were churning out center fielders in this town like they were going out of style.
we had
Remember that?
Torrey.
Torrey led into that, and then they dumped him, and then
Man, Ben Revere
then it
was
was
something else.
Spansy. Ben Revere, it's like, why'd they get rid of that guy? Because he went on, wasn't he with the Phillies or whatever?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, I believe so.
And then it was Buxton.
Yep.
I mean, it's like the homemade center field products. Walker Jenkins.
There we go.
I wonder how long it's going to be for him.
We'll have to see.
I got a question.
I can't wait.
I got a question.
Oh, yes. I didn't mean for the question.
Baseball guys. Favorite Twins pinch hitter, designated hitter.
Oh, easy.
Punto.
Oh, pop-up Punto?
Papa Punto.
Toomey?
Popped up back a
Toomey?
second.
No,
Tomei?
Jim Tomei is what I was going to say.
Tomei. Yeah, he was.
I'm going to have to go with a couple of eras, but let's hear what
lightning
LT has got.
No, I was agreeing with Tomei.
Okay, I will go. Can I give a couple eras?
Yeah, let's spread it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So modern. I guess I'd call Tomei modern day.
We just rented him for a couple of years. He had a big impact.
But I'd go Nelly Cruz.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
How do you go wrong there? And that guy was a stud.
Even at like what we had him when
could
he was,
probably still be swinging it. Okay.
we had him when he was 39, I believe, and he still had cranked out that
He was
30
39,
plus
40,
year.
41. Wasn't he here 3 years?
And he had a couple 30 plus home run
Dude,
seasons.
heart and soul.
Yeah.
Okay. Cruz, Tomei, and then we'll dip it back. Chili Davis was really a big one for me.
Ooh.
Love Chili.
Yep.
World Series.
Absolutely. And is there any other
Wags, I
guys?
got a good one for you.
All my guys were power hitters.
How about Craig Cusick?
Oh, I never liked that guy.
Wait, okay.
It's so funny you say that because that was the post,
How far back was
was
that?
like the post Harmon era.
Yeah.
And it was such a
so that was
gaping
a while
hole
ago.
because you had Cusick and who was the other thug they played over at third base?
But he was
nobody.
he was interesting because usually
How about this?
DHs can also play outfield occasionally.
Yeah.
But he was strictly a DH. He had like no skills on the diamond.
No,
He did nothing for
Just
me.
bat skills.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, how about this one? And I lost my train of thought too.
Okay, it'll come back.
Mother. What were we talking about?
Top DHs of all time.
Okay. So this is great. I was sort of upset. I was upset about the Carew trade, right? Mm-hmm. But then I was so happy. There's another guy that went in that trade or was let go too. Same side of the infield. Awful, in my opinion. Worst body language.
Where was
second
Carew
baseman
playing first base?
Yep,
then?
second baseman.
Second baseman. And
Should I
you know
give
who
you
it
the
is?
first name?
Yeah.
Rob.
Will Fawn.
Then they moved Johnny Castino over to second, remember?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. There's another.
So good.
Will Fongery.
Did they move Castino to second?
Third.
Wait, who is
No,
it?
but
No,
he
you're
moved.
right. No, yeah,
Didn't,
I'm third.
didn't we have
When that
a
was vacant.
Didn't we have a Castillo at one point? Was it Luis Castillo? Wasn't he? I'm trying to date back.
Yeah,
into my-
Castillo, but we were talking Castino.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
and I tie.
And Wags.
Italian.
That got me thinking about
What
Castillo.
hurt even more after we lost Carew was at least we had Lyman Bostock because he could
and then
he could win a batting title too.
Yeah, he was 310, 315,
and then he
320.
gets shot in Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, gone in the streets of Gary.
Yeah.
Any other
In a car.
Any other significant Twins
drive-by
players from
shooting.
the 2000s that you guys can think of?
2000s?
I'm trying to date some of my early childhood.
Okay,
here.
your early childhood years. You loved Dougie baseball. I didn't think he did enough to contribute for me to get behind that.
Well, he was the Moneyball story,
But
the Moneyball
True.
story happened
Yeah.
with the Twins, not the A's.
But the guy, interesting. The guy that I loved the most out of that whole group was Pierzynski.
AJ.
And here's what bummed me out.
No, he was special. He was like Rogers, that kind of same mentality.
He was a hard nosed,
Yeah, prick.
He was. He was.
He competed.
He was.
He competed,
Spot
and you know
on.
what? I wanted him on my team, and he was on the Sox, and it bugged me. And then they won a World Series, and they were singing "Don't Stop Believing," and it really bugged me. Okay, but when Mauer came up, I understood you needed to bring Mauer. Could you move AJ down to first or something?
Yeah.
Could've. You could've.
Can you imagine if you had both of those bats?
Oh,
Come on!
Oh man.
Should have thought.
Well, wait, wasn't
Was that TK
wasn't he a
era?
left-handed?
I never would've let
Wasn't
him
he a
go.
lefty?
No.
He was a left-handed
They're
hitter?
both lefties.
Yeah, okay. That's
They
what-
both
let
were
go.
good hitting lefties.
Too good to let go.
Was that TK or Gardy?
That was Gardy.
Okay, I was going to say TK.
Should we take a little break here, boys?
I mean, that's an hour.
Well, that is it. But I was gonna play a
time
little
flies.
bit of just because we haven't played it yet.
Is that Robert?
That's our
All
signal
right.
for last takes.
This is it.
Last takes, boys.
All right, go ahead.
Oh.
Al Teagues.
Let's talk about the
No, I think just everyone should be a little bit more considerate. Definitely in the fans, in the
In the world of,
stands, and,
Fans in the
sportsmanship.
stands.
And
Yeah.
you just take,
Sportsmanship.
just take it easy on the
Take
kids
it
because
easy.
I guess you really don't know unless you're in that other person's shoes how they're feeling, and they could be going through things that people wouldn't really understand. So let's just
Right
be
on,
proud, be happy.
Love it.
I would agree.
and he takes on the rotating quarterbacks in the league. We got Cousins. We got potentially
Darnold.
the two Steelers
I'll
guys.
leave that to the quarterback lover. Go ahead.
Okay.
He loves the quarterback. God, you love him.
Darnold to Seattle.
Yep.
Sounds like it.
Yep. I could see that given that Gino went to the reunion with
It
Pete
sounds
Carroll
like
down
that
in
was
Vegas.
open up for him to go there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean,
I think that's a good spot for him.
you think Darnold to the Seahawks?
I do. I think it's a good spot.
And you think McCarthy just gets
No, Daniel Jones.
DJ,
Really?
Yeah.
and then
10 mil.
10 mil a year, and then
Same thing.
do what you can to essentially play JJ in as many preseason games as possible.
They compete for the job.
I mean, I think you got to be. I think you got to be careful with bringing him back with as many games as possible. I think you got to have a rehab build up.
Well,
so
and maybe that wasn't the best way to put it, but is as many intentional minutes or drives. As
I think you
can.
give him what you give him, but you're still going to be having him on the sideline. And Daniel Jones
I
is
think
running the show.
I think they compete for the job. It's the
Daniel Jones will win
it's the
it.
best
Yeah,
way.
best
It's the
I think
best way.
Daniel Jones wins it early here,
Yeah.
And we didn't. And,
that's fair.
and maybe you guys know off the top of your
but
head.
then he'll succumb.
How much of JJ did we actually? Wasn't it only one game last year?
I'm not judging that. I mean, there was
One preseason game.
Yeah, half of a game.
I was gonna say
I mean,
half.
what we saw was cool, but what does that mean?
Nothing.
No,
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no
So-
guarantee there.
I mean, I think you mentioned the Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
component.
Yep.
You saw it on Facebook. Was it a reliable Facebook source?
Oh my gosh, 100%. I'm just saying, there could be a possibility. Obviously, he's not going to stay with New York. So,
If he wants to be with the quarterback whisperer, if he wants to go to a team that has a ton of money and is willing to not play for a ton,
I don't think he needs the whisper.
No, he
Yeah.
thinks he's the whisperer.
Yeah.
well, I think he'd want to play under a system with the whisperer who knows exactly what they're doing when they're pulling the trigger, and he'd want to play for his offense. I can guarantee that.
okay.
I could see where he'd want to do that. The point is do you think Minnesota's situation would give you an opportunity to win a Super Bowl better than any other place you could go, given what their money situation
The
is?
pieces are in place.
But you got to come in for a really low price.
Remember, that's what Favre said. The pieces are in place.
I don't think
They
Rodgers.
damn near
I
won
don't
it.
think Rodgers really needing more. I mean, obviously everyone loves money, but I don't think he's.
No,
I think
it's
he's-
worth it.
I think
I think he's
holding
got
out
something
for
to
a
prove.
I
20
think
million.
He's in good shape.
Yeah,
He wants to be relevant.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
come to a point where you had the couple of seconds that he played 2 seasons ago. Last year really didn't play incredibly well, and I'd have to go back and double check. I thought his overall stat line was actually pretty close to what Patrick Mahomes his stat line was.
He
on the
finished
regular
really good,
season.
actually.
He has to finish off his career with proving a point that he can come back from an injury. He can be put together with a good team,
And I think he'll be
Win.
willing to take 10,
Well,
15 million.
Sadly, the Jets had a great defense and a great coach that was built around defense, and they screwed up. They should never have gotten rid of him at 2 and 3. They
Right.
played the Vikings really strong, and my whole point is Woody lost patience and just overreacted, and now they're starting from ground zero. And okay, good. good
Don't
for
you think that was Rodgers in his ear saying make these changes?
No,
No?
I think
Okay.
I think
No.
Rodgers going to any outfit right now. He has to be humble. He has to follow suit.
Nope.
And he I don't
I
think
think
that
he is and would.
I think I do. I think he needs to, but I don't think it has to be just around him and him going.
I have never heard internally, to your point,
Yeah.
any team really come out and say, God, he's an impossible thing. I've never heard it. Have you?
No.
Not what you think. Have you ever heard that?
No.
So
But I see it.
There you go.
Not what you
I
think.
see it on the field. I see it on the field.
Yeah.
You know, when he's walking back and forth and he's talking to the players
Yeah.
like he's the blame game. I think he has at least
Well,
1 or 2 years in him, and I think he could do well.
But let's be honest.
I like when he's around. I really do. I think
He's a leader.
He's an interesting guy.
There are things we don't
I
know.
hope he catches onto a team. I do.
There are things that we don't know when a guy like he and Tom Brady are bitching at guys because they turned the wrong way.
Yep.
They ran the wrong route. And you know, if they do it over and over and over again, they don't care that you're watching.
Yeah.
They got to drill their point home and say, get your fucking act together and get it right.
But you got to remember
because
also
they're putting the ball in this plate, you know, and
It's
don't bitch at me because you're not
don't
catching
forget
the ball.
But don't forget.
Yeah, and you're not in the right.
But don't forget where he came from.
Yep.
Just saying.
Nothing.
But what team? It's not if it's not the Vikings. Like they say, he's looking at the Giants as an option, but that's another dysfunctional situation.
Well, Malik Neighbors would be fun to throw.
I mean, does Cleveland potentially consider him? Because if not, they got to take Cousins.
Is that where Cousins is
Who
going?
would you rather
I
have,
think
Cousins or
Cousins.
Rodgers?
You've got two Achilles heels there.
I would.
Wow, what do you do?
Yeah,
I'd take
I think
Rodgers.
Cousins, he's done.
I think so too. I think it's an end of line for some people.
No, I don't.
But there's a lot of demand for QBs. Who's going to draft
there's not enough.
Ward and who's going to draft Sanders? I mean, that's the.
I mean, are
that's
they?
it.
But are they even
Anyone
ready?
else?
Correct.
Yeah, anyone else too? Dylan
Well,
Gabriel.
I mean, there's the rookie quarterbacks did great last year.
But are they them?
No, they are not them.
Regardless,
I think that's the
regardless, guys, not enough quarterbacks, not enough time.
Yep.
So we'll have to figure that out.
Is the last
on the bright
minute of
side-
play in the period.
Final thoughts. We got the Masters coming up in about a month. I don't know if you guys are stoked about that.
Well, we got the Valspar Championship in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I'm ready.
That's exciting.
We're getting into golf season
That's
full
up.
swing.
Yeah.
We're a little over a month and a half away from the NFL draft, so of course we'll see everyone and their mother putting together mock drafts. We'll see what happens draft night, the end of April.
Yeah, I love the draft.
And we're
Wait.
what?
Do you really look at mock drafts?
No.
Do you? Okay.
No,
Don't.
But that's all that people feel the need to blast
thought you
out.
were-
Wait, who's the Minnesota guy that puts together like the killer mock drafts?
I don't remember off the top of my
what's his
head.
name?
We'll circle back on that next week.
Ben Lieber.
Thor, something like that.
There we go.
I don't look at any of it.
I don't pay too much attention. I see it all over.
I don't
the-
even watch
I
it.
do.
I
That's
don't
a lot
watch
of
the draft.
speculation.
I can't.
Hey, but on another,
That's like looking at crypto.
Hey, how many coughs did I have here?
Not many.
very many.
Not many.
Today was a good episode.
I just took a lozenge.
Last point
All
here:
right.
baseball just a couple weeks away. Starting day. I don't know off the top of my head what it is,
can't
but
wait, man.
I know
Can't
it's
wait.
coming up. We're gonna be
I've
ready
got my Twins back.
to rock and roll.
Did you buy the Twins package yet?
No, we're not opted into it.
Why?
No, we'll go to a couple of games maybe and watch it.
You're not going to buy it?
No,
Why not?
no.
It's okay to pay money for content.
Well, gentlemen, it is
Support the Twins.
another episode
It's okay to buy
in the
money
books
for
from the Meta Sports League studios. We are the DigiFan Podcast here every Friday at 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern with for Wags, JC, L Teagues, and Peanut. I'm Doc. See you next week.